When I was a beginner videographer, there was one simple thing that I failed to consider.
Positions, everybody! Action! Cut!
What?
What are you doing?
I'm filming, Mr. Spielberger.
Yes.
But how? I was gonna press record. I see so many beginner and intermediate videographers who ignore this fundamental thing, and I want to make sure you're not one of those people. But don't worry, because it's really easy to learn. It requires no money or fancy gear, just the camera you already own, and obviously you've got to watch this video. When you get it right, not only will your videos look more cinematic, but they'll also feel more cinematic. Oh, cinematic. So what's the thing? I'll let these two show you. Why are you pointing the camera upwards? Guess I'd never really thought about it, to be honest. Probably because I'm holding the camera down here.
Okay, Sammy.
You really need to think about the angle at which you're pointing the camera because it's important. Right, okay, how so? Well, camera angles are important for so many reasons. Having a variety of shots can make a sequence more interesting. Different angles can show or hide specific details. They can provide perspective to the viewer, but more importantly, they can really change the psychological effect of how the character's perceived by the viewer. Think of it like snooker or pool. If you don't think about what angle to hit the ball, it wouldn't go in the right place. And if we didn't angle the camera in the right way, it wouldn't have the desired effect. Right, so what you're saying is don't put too much English on the ball, draw for show, follow the dough, squat the rock, keep your soldiers on the table, take care of the cue ball, and the cue ball will take care of you. Yeah, that'll do.
Ready, everybody?
Cool. We're going to look at 6 different camera angles along with the effect that they have on your shots so that you can be more intentional with your choice of angles when you're next filming. And one of these you don't really hear being spoken about much, but I think it's quite important. I'm even going to throw in an extra bonus tip for you later on, but you must watch till the end of the video because there's so much more to this than just the angle. Now I think the reason why people ignore this fundamental thing or completely forget about it is because it's usually done in the planning or storyboard phase. Now a lot of videographers these days just film on the fly, which means they don't have time to do that extra planning. Or let's face it, most people are too busy thinking, look how blurry the background is, or check out my special gimbal move, instead of actually thinking about what's important and portraying the right emotion. But these lazy people will convey the wrong emotion and all that effort will have gone to waste if the viewer is confused. Right, look at these 2 shots. One of them is filmed from below and one from above. Tell me how you feel about the characters. Well, one of them looks smaller because we're looking down at them, and the other one looks larger or more powerful.
That's right.
And this doesn't just work on people. In this shot, the character is looking up at the trees, and because the camera is pointing upwards, you can actually see the top of the trees and how tall they are. If the camera was pointing straight forward, you wouldn't be able to see how tall the trees were. So by doing this, it's giving you a sense of the environment. And in this shot, I'm showing the drone takeoff from below, and you can actually see all the dust that gets sprayed out everywhere. And that's really cool, it's showing you more detail. Whereas when I'm pointing down at the drone looks smaller and less impressive for a start, but you also can't see that dust that's flying about because it blends in with the ground. So again, it's really important to think about what details that you want to pick out of the shot and from which perspective those details are going to be best shot. Now speaking of perspective, if we're looking up at some characters, that could be from the perspective of a small child, which puts the viewer in their shoes and makes them feel what it would be like. An extreme version of pointing the camera down is a bird's eye view. Now I really like a bird's eye view because it creates so much suspense because you can't see what's coming next, you don't know what's going to be revealed. Plus, it's a really interesting shot because it's not a point of view we see often, because us mere mortals are usually on the ground and not flying in the air. This shot was filmed around eye level. How do you feel about this one? Kind of neutral.
Yes.
Psychologically, we're on the same level as the character because we're looking straight at them. And this leaves more room for interpretation open to the expressions and the dialogue. This is a natural and less extreme looking camera angle and creates less tension. The horizon is in the center of the frame, which means you can see equal amounts of the sky and the ground. And this is useful if you need to show or hide certain details of the environment. Right, for this next shot, we need it to feel unsettling. So you need to work on your obliques. Yeah. Oh, I'm trying to. No, not those obliques. Oblique angles, or a Dutch angle. What? It's where you tilt the camera on the horizontal axis. Our brains are used to symmetry and straight lines, so this creates the feeling that something isn't quite right. So I can put this down then? Yeah, No wonder they call it a dumbbell. Pardon?
Nothing.
There are a few things to keep in mind when you're filming a Dutch angle. You need to make sure that the horizon level is clear in your frame, otherwise it won't look like anything is at an angle at all. So make sure you can at least see some horizontal or vertical lines in your shot to make it look like your character is at a definite angle. So I've done it here with the tree in the background, and you can't really tell that I'm an angle. And also make sure it looks intentional. If you don't use enough of an angle, it will just look like you've not set your tripod up properly and it looks like a rookie error. Filming from the side or at a 90-degree angle makes it seem like the viewer is looking in on a conversation or the action, whatever it is that's happening, from another perspective or a third-person view. They're not actually part of the conversation. Because when you are engaging with someone, you're usually facing them. If the camera was positioned over someone's shoulder or at less of an angle, it brings the viewer in and makes them feel part of what's happening. If you've ever played a first-person video game, you'll know what a POV shot is. A point of view shot is where it looks like it's from the perspective of the person doing whatever it is that they're doing. Multiple camera movements and angles can be used to really express what the character is going through. And I think this one is really effective because it really pulls the viewer in to what it would feel like going through whatever it is they're doing. What about the bonus tip? You're probably wondering about this bonus tip. If you're filming anything with more than one camera, like an interview for example, it's important to follow the 30-degree rule. This is where you set up the second camera at least 30 degrees away from the first camera. Otherwise, the cut will look distracting and almost like a mistake. Because if you have two shots that are very similar, it just looks like you've stopped filming and then moved the camera a little bit and then started filming again and put them together. It's not quite right. Whereas if you've got two definitive, different looking shots, it's a nice pleasing cut to switch between and it looks really natural. Not only that, but you can actually hide a lot of mistakes or pauses using these two different angles. So I quite like this little trick. But the further you go, the more dramatic the effect, so make sure you think about how you want it to look. Camera angles is only one way of creating emotion, and while using these will make you a better videographer, they're not as powerful when used on their own. But when coupled with what I talk about in this video, you'll be able to connect with the audience on an even deeper level. And that's exactly why you want to watch this YouTube video next, because it's going to teach you how to do just that.